Welcome back to the 12 Days of Zone 4, everybody. I am Brant Fowler, aka the Gonzo Goose, and this is day 3 of the 12 Days of Zone 4. If you missed the previous episodes, they were audio episodes, but I did put the videos up here on the channel. First one I talked about Divergent versus Hunger Games, and the second one I talked about Injustice: Gods Among Us, the video game. For this one, I am going to talk about my initial thoughts of Spider-Verse so far. Now, granted, I will say this, that I have not read the previous week's books yet that came out on December 10th, so I'm not caught up completely on Spider-Verse yet. I'm not even sure. I'd have to go back and look and see what exactly came out, and I know I've missed a couple of issues here and there. I'm trying to get better at my reading. I've just had a very busy schedule lately. But I did recently purchase this issue, which is Amazing Spider-Man number 9, and it is the first part of Spider-Verse. Of course, we had the Edge of Spider-Verse before this, leading up to Spider-Verse, but this was the first official part of the entire event. And of course, now there have been 2 more issues of Spider-Man that have come out, but I hadn't read this issue yet. I had skipped past it to read issue 10, and then I read issue 11, and so forth. But just let's go back a little bit and talk about Edge of Spider-Verse. We knew this was coming for a while. They've been teasing it for months now. The big poster with every Spider-Man ever. It's been this big master plan Dan Slott's been working on for years and years now, that he's been on the Spider-Man books. And it was a very intriguing concept, because you're going to get to see all these different Spider characters. And in the Edge of Spider-Verse and leading up to Spider-Verse, we saw various Spider characters throughout the multiverse. We saw the gorgeous, I don't know why I use gorgeous, but the brilliant reintroduction of Gwen Stacy as Spider-Gwen in that world. We saw in one of them the sugary, sweet Spider-Man and his amazing friends from the cartoon with Firestar and Iceman back in the day. We saw them get slaughtered, basically. And so we've seen all these different iterations of Spider-Man and Spider characters throughout the multiverse leading up to it, just kind of teasing us till we get to this big event, which explains the gap that took place in Superior Spider-Man, where, okay, basically, let me slow down, go way back to J. Michael Straczynski's run on Amazing Spider-Man, when he introduced Morlun, who is a soul sucker. It introduced the entire concept of the spiders as totems, and Morlun hunting the spiders, and Spider-Man being the other, or at least he thought it was the other. It turns out to be Kane is the other. So that was where the concept was introduced, and Morlun went away, came back a couple of times here and there. But this latest time he came back, we find out that he has a whole family that do this, that hunt the spiders throughout the multiverse, and that's all they do. They are the inheritors. And so that's the basis of this story. During Superior Spider-Man, Doc Ock vanished through time and lost a little bit of time, and came back and said, I got to do this, got to do that. So that's how we get Doc Ock Spidey back, because he is the version that was missing in time, because he found out about Morlun and the inheritors and has been trying to build a team of spider characters from the multiverse to combat the threat. And that's kind of what we learned leading up to Spider-Verse. Now we're in full tilt with Spider-Verse. We've got Spider-Man leading a group, Superior Spider-Man leading a group, and now they've converged, and you got to see who's going to do better or whatever. But in the meantime, you have all these other Spider characters that have been introduced, and what part they're going to play. We have all these miniseries going off, like the Scarlet Spiders miniseries, where all the Scarlet Spiders go off to a clone world kind of thing, and this and that. And this particular issue gave us a lot more detail. I'll show you, of the inheritors. There's the Weaver of the Web, and some of the inheritors in his family. And we see alternate versions of Silver Sable, Kraven the Hunter, and I'm not sure who the Fireheart character is, but that they were keeping as pets. And it's interesting. And one of the most interesting things, in my opinion, coming out of this, obviously Spider-Gwen is my favorite thing that has come out of Spider-Verse so far. But the other very interesting thing is this character of Silk. And she is the queen figure, and they have this connection, this intense, romantic, and I don't know, what do you call it? It's just this chemistry, this chemical reaction that happens to them when they get near each other, Peter Parker and Silk. And, now she's in the mix as well because she was kept by Morlun for all these years. But the cool thing is we get to see every iteration of Spider-Man throughout this event, like Spider-Ham, which is really cool. We have the Captain Britain Spider-Man and, Spider-Man 2099. And I just want to make a comment. Oliver Coipel did the art for this book, I believe. Yeah. And he's doing the current run through Spider-Verse. This is some gorgeous art right here, I gotta say. Just gorgeous art from Oliver Coipel. Or Olivier Coipel, however you pronounce his name. We got Old Man Spider-Man. We got all kinds of Spider-Man characters, and it's fantastic seeing this all come together. So yeah, that's been my favorite part. We see the Inheritors. This is a great page. They're about to feast on two of the spiders here. And, overall, I think it's been a solid event so far. Not every issue has been stellar. There have been a few duds. The Edge of Spider-Verse miniseries, there was only like 2 good issues, 1 fair one and 2 kind of bad ones in that 5-issue miniseries. And I think the same thing can be held true throughout. There's a clunker here and there, but I think overall all the stories that I've personally read have been pretty solid, pretty good. And I'm a huge Spider-Man fan. He's my favorite character, as the dog goes crazy and barks. But he's my favorite character, and I've always enjoyed reading about Spider-Man. But this event is just really cool because I'm getting all the Spider-Man characters, and so it's throughout the history of reading these books and seeing all these various different versions from the cartoons, from from the different universes in the comics, Ben Reilly, Kane, all these Mayday Parker, and so on and so forth, which we do see in here as well. It's just really cool that we get to see all these Spider characters converge and become part of this whole storyline where they have to stop the Inheritors, and we don't know how they're going to do it because none of them, even combined so far, have been able to touch Morlun and his family. So we don't know how this is going to play out, what role each of these characters play in this overall story. I am very eager to see what happens. We know March solicitations came out this week, so we know from those that Spider-Verse is over, and Peter Parker comes out not unscathed, but he comes out from the event. Spider-Gwen survives as well. Silk is still around, so we know that they're going to come out the other end of this, unfortunately, because solicitations spoil things. What are you going to do? But we don't know how, and we don't know how many of these other characters are not going to make it out. We don't know if Superior Spider-Man is done for sure. We don't know if Ben Reilly is going to survive this. So there's a lot of interesting things. People have been clamoring, myself included, for Ben Reilly to return for years, and he does here. But is he going to stay? We don't know. It could be that all the spiders are wiped out except for the main 616 universe, and Miles Morales is around too. So we just don't know. It's going to be very interesting to see how this all plays out. I think let's lay it on the table. I was a Dan Slott hater. I did not like his run on Amazing Spider-Man before 700. I cringed at his run almost as much as I cringed at J. Michael Straczynski's. I just didn't like either run, and I just did not like how he handled the character, how he wrote the character. I didn't feel like he knew the character. And the truth is, I'm still not sure that he does, because in his version of Amazing Spider-Man, since the relaunch, Peter's a little bit different. So he is really writing a different version of the character. He's just brought the character up to the point where he wanted him to be. But I can appreciate the stories that Dan Slott has weaved since way back in the 600s of Amazing Spider-Man, when he was building the foundation for this story, for Doc Ock taking over, and then all the way up to now, where he has put together this whole Spider-Verse event. I'll give him credit. I'll give credit where credit's due. He has created a very interesting story that I am pretty much enjoying altogether. So kudos to you, Mr. Slott. My hat, well, my hair wasn't so messed up, it would be off to you, sir. So, yeah, so I'm not going to go to 5 out of 5. It's not done, and I haven't read everything, but I just will say that I am really enjoying Spider-Verse to date so far, and I would recommend any Spider-Man fan to go pick this up. If you've not been reading the Spider-Man books because you didn't like what was being done, or you didn't like the idea of Superior Spider-Man, I think you'll appreciate this, because this is a really good story, and it's bringing back a lot of characters that we as Spider-Man fans will appreciate and love. So that's my take on Spider-Verse. Hope you guys enjoyed this. If you'd like to see me do more video or audio or whatever, please tune in daily. I'm going to be doing these 12 Days of Zone 4 on the Zone 4 Podcast YouTube channel, and they'll also be on zone4podcast.com, and the audio version, even of the video portions of the 12 Days of Zone 4 will be on the iTunes feed. So you may be very well listening to this on iTunes, or via an audio streaming service. And if you are, just note that there is a video to go with this, where I actually am showing pages from Amazing Spider-Man. That's why I was commenting on the art, if you were kind of confused by that. So you can find it at youtube.com/Zone4Podcast, and of course Zone4Podcast.com. So again, tune in tomorrow for another 12 Days of Zone 4, and as we celebrate the holidays and we celebrate the 300th episode coming this Friday, be sure to tune in for a special guest dropping by. And until then, thanks guys for watching, thanks for listening, and I'll see you next time. You are now leaving Zone 4.